I know a lot of people who do pay per lead. We're totally against that. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. If you can make it work for you, great. But as a business owner who's providing that service, and if I was the one buying that service, you don't know if you're going to spend, $3,000 or $20,000 that month. Like, that's a scary proposition. So that's why I like flat rates, and that's why we work on flat fees and just retainers. It also incentivizes the operators to do bad behaviors, because if you think about it, if you're getting paid for the lead, why not just spray and pray 2 million emails out in a month and just hope 300 stick? You might have a 0.1% reply rate. You're going to have more volume, so you're going to have more money. So it just incentivizes bad behavior all around.
Yeah, Alex, super excited to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Talk to you a lot, but now we're talking in a podcast setting. This is fun.
For sure. Yeah. So before we dive in, just quick intro to Alex. He has a very successful clay agency. It passed 2.5 million ARR, getting kind of close to 3, I guess. And the numbers are public as of a couple days ago, or have you talked about it publicly before?
No, I tend not to talk about it publicly. I just think it's one of those things. You got to think about who you're appealing to, right? It's like, if you're talking about your numbers, you're appealing to other business owners and agency owners.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for ideal clients on LinkedIn when I'm making content.
Yeah.
But it was one of those instances where it's a milestone. It's the end of the year. We had a big year. So my girlfriend tells me I should celebrate my successes more. So that's where that came from.
Nice. Very cool. So helps to get to big numbers like that if you have incredible retention, like I know Understory does. I'm excited to dive into that and a bunch of other things. Fun fact, you are an avid golf player, have a product that you were selling for a while as well.
Little side hustle. Nothing big, but yeah.
Nice. All right, so let's dive in. What is the story of Alex?
So probably a lot different than most people in our space. I started off selling soap. I mean, literally selling soap. I was at Procter and Gamble for the first 4.5 years of my career, and was moving from state to state. I lived in Boston for a couple of years, and Minneapolis for a couple of years, and the next step was to do an internal role in Cincinnati. And I got sick of moving. Frankly, I was only as excited about soap as you could be. And I think that kind of drew me out of it. It was a stable job. It was fun. I learned a ton. Oh my God. I mean, I learned so much at that job, more than I've ever learned in any other job, I think. But yeah, eventually I think I just got bored, and I wanted to do something where I could really attribute my success to my own output. And I felt like at P&G, I was pretty capped. So I left that. I went into a director level role in an advertising company. Did that for about only 6 months. I just wasn't happy there. Made a move into tech sales, and actually love tech sales. So I did tech sales for about 2 years. I was selling tax compliance software, which isn't the most exciting tech, but it's super necessary tech. So it's basically helping multinational corporations be compliant in tons of different jurisdictions. So think about a company like Coca-Cola that has operations in maybe 40 countries.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they have different tax compliances and jurisdictions that they have to keep up with. So it's a software that basically allows them to stay up to date with new laws, new mandates, and things like that. So I was doing that. I closed a really big deal, and I had the opportunity to go full time with Understory. I was kind of doing it on the back burner for the first.
You're saying you closed a big deal with Understory?
No, with Sovo, so the company I was with previously, and it gave me some runway. So I was already working on Understory on the back burner with Ali, and Ali was doing it full time. And we were starting to see some success, but we just couldn't really scale because neither of us, I feel like, had clear direction on where we were going. And for me, I was only part-time. Yeah, so that's kind of where we stalled out. And then I had the opportunity, because I closed that big deal, to go full-time because I had the runway. I was like, okay, we're either going to make this work or we're not. We just put our heads down and we made it work. And we went from 10K a month to where we are today, really in 2024. So it happened pretty quickly. And yeah, I mean, thankfully, we've had a really good retention. We have awesome clients. I think part of the reason that we have such good retention is because we are pretty selective with who we work with. We're not working with agencies. We're only working with software companies. In fact, we've tried it. We worked with one software development agency. We actually got them great results. But it's just one of those things. It's like they can only close at the rate they can close at.
Right.
And if a company's not within their ICP, perfectly,
Yeah.
it just falls apart. And at the end of the day, it's like we can drive as many leads as possible for them, but if they can't close them, it doesn't matter because there's no ROI.
Yeah.
So them, and then recruiting is the other one that we avoid.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we avoid recruiting is because it's just a super saturated market. It's super necessary, but there's so many people sending out emails for that offer, and it's just really hard to stand out in a crowd like that. But we actually have multiple cybersecurity clients, which is very rare in the outbound space. But yeah, we've seen a lot of success with them. But yeah, sorry, I went off on a tangent
No, that's
there.
great. Yeah, I can totally identify with the recruit. We specialized in recruitment automation when we had an agency, and can totally identify with what you're saying. It's
So many people out
possible to
there
get
doing
results,
it.
but it's hard. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And so when you transitioned from, it sounds like Procter and Gamble, and you named one other big company, I think.
Yeah, I got into advertising sales, advertising technology company called Neptune Retail Solutions. They basically place advertisements in grocery stores and different out of home ads for
Mhm.
grocery chains and retailers and brands. So I did that, and then into tech sales, and then into Understory.
So it's like either working for a really big company or selling to really big companies. And then Understory, was that, I mean, was that a big transition, or what's the, I guess the higher level question is, what was it like to switch from working as an employee in these type of companies to running Understory?
I went from a ton of bureaucracy to none really quickly.
Okay.
And I also went from, 2 year sales cycles.
Mhm.
We're talking $1 million deals and they take literally 2 years to close. The buying committee might be 20 people. You're navigating a complex buying committee. You have to go through 15 different chains of approval to get anything done.
Mhm.
To we're going to launch a new service. We're going to build the service. We're going to take it to market. We're going to close deals and we're going to operate it. So it went from very slow pace to very fast pace really quickly.
Yeah.
But thankfully for me, I feel like I'm built for fast pace. I'm not built for the slow pace. I get uneasy just waiting for things to happen. So
Yeah. I've seen that in person with you, so
yeah,
it's impressive how fast you can move on stuff.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm definitely built for a faster paced life.
What would you say are your superpowers?
I would say probably my ability to sell. I think I definitely have a strong sales acumen. It's something I was just built with naturally. My dad was in software sales before software sales was cool. And I think probably some of that just rubbed off on me, and I'm sure some of it's genetic too. It's definitely one of my superpowers. I'd say my other superpower is speed and energy.
Hmm.
I tend to not get tired very easily. So I feel like one of these things that we do
Hmm.
is deal with rejection frequently in the agency space, right?
Hmm.
There's a ton of rejection. And when a client churns, it can feel like the end of the world. But it's being able to get through that. It allows you to scale because it's so easy to just be like, oh my God, this is exhausting. I can't believe I'm doing this full time. I lose a client. Oh my God, my income just went. At the beginning, it's like you lose a client. Let's say you're doing 10K a month. You can literally go back down to zero overnight.
Right.
And that is the most stressful thing ever. It's like I have bills, so it's like my ability to to withstand pain, I guess, is probably higher than others. Maybe that's one of my superpowers.
Nice. Are you a super sleeper, or you only need like 4 hours a night?
I wish I slept more. I sleep like 5 or 6 hours a day if I'm lucky. I wish I slept more.
I see. Okay. I mean, some people apparently only need, they're 3 hours and they're like, ah, I'm good. I don't really need any more.
I'm not one of those people. I get cranky. If I sleep for less than 6 hours, I'm cranky. That happens a lot. And then I sit right next to a window. I think that helps me. When it's sunny out, I feel a lot better.
That's good. What is it that keeps you so busy?
I just don't want to fail. I really don't want to fail. I went all in, right? It's like when you go all in, and also it's not just me. I have a team. Ali, who's my co-founder, is one of my best friends in the world. He's relying on me. I'm relying on him. Our team relies on us. I just don't want to fail. And I just have this innate desire to just do something different. I always felt like working a 9 to 5, which is there's nothing wrong with, by the way. 9 to 5s are great for most people. It just never felt like enough.
Hmm.
And so I just have this innate desire to continue doing what I'm doing, which is just being an entrepreneur and living life on my own terms. Yeah, I think that's what really drives me. I'm sure you can resonate with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, especially at the beginning, it's like you may not be making as much money as you are in a job even, but it feels a lot better. And then you have that
Totally.
upside and the potential, at least the dream of having the time flexibility.
Totally. And I think there's also just something about entrepreneurs when you talk to entrepreneurs. And an entrepreneur is also not such a stringent term, right? It's like you don't
Mhm.
have to be a business owner to be an entrepreneur. Like you can have people that work in your business
For sure.
that are still entrepreneurs. Like I have a couple members on our team who I would consider entrepreneurs, even though they work at Understory. Like they're super creative. They're always coming up with new ideas for the company. They just think outside of the box. And it's like those are the people, whether they're working at Understory or on their own, they're gonna end up being successful regardless of whatever they do. I mean, entrepreneurs just think a different way. It's just having those conversations with people like that too. It gets me fired up.
How do you encourage entrepreneurs to work inside your business rather than for themselves?
That's a very tricky situation, Nathan. It's super hard. I mean, I think the key is you absolutely cannot micromanage an
Mm,
entrepreneur. You also have to give them freedom. So it's like, for example, I have one guy in our team, Pierre. Pierre formerly was an entrepreneur,
mhm.
and he decided to join us. I'm very grateful he did because he's made a huge impact. But he's one of those guys, you know. It's like give him the freedom to be great, and he'll be great. He'll do something amazing just on his own because he's driven internally. I don't need to motivate him with little things that you'd motivate other people with at specific companies. Like for example, there's certain commission plans. There are all different ways you can incentivize people to do really well. Pierre is just driven. He's just one of those guys. He doesn't need that. He sees things with a long term vision. He's driven. So it's like entrepreneurs. They're hard to manage within your organization, but super worth it if you can make it work.
Do you have a tendency to want to micromanage, or is it just like, nope, I trust.
I think, to be honest, no, I don't have that tendency. But what I do have a tendency to manage for is exceptional behaviors.
Mhm.
And if I feel like someone's slacking, then I think it's the same with anyone who's managing people, right? If you see someone where performance has started to drop off, then that's where micromanaging comes into play.
Mhm.
But if people are doing a great job, I don't think I do.
Makes sense.
It's like I don't care if you're taking a vacation. I could care less where you are in the world. If the work is good, the work's good. The one thing I will say is at Understory in particular, we have a level of quality. And if that quality isn't being met, then yeah, micromanagement might start to
Makes
occur.
sense.
Which is it's happened like twice ever, to be honest with you. I'm very lucky with the people we have on our team.
Mhm, mhm.
But you and I have had some of those conversations, you know what that's like. But it's rare. I mean, if you hire the right people, then they typically do a great job.
Yeah. What would you say are your weaknesses?
I move too quickly.
It sounds like a job interview. I'm too passionate. I execute way too much work.
No, I think to be honest, it's that I move too quickly occasionally, and I also it's not that I expect people to be able to keep up with my pace,
Mhm,
but sometimes I put my pace onto others
mhm.
accidentally, and I feel like I can overwhelm people with that. So it's something that I'm actively trying to get better about is just making sure that before I actually send that message in Slack, before I make that phone call to someone on our team, that I've thought about how are they going to interpret this before I say it.
Yeah.
And that's just management, right? And I think that's just things you learn over time managing people. It's also one of those things like Ali and I at the end of the day have the most to win and the most to lose. So we're going to care more than anyone else. And you also have to think about that when you're asking people to do certain things. It's like, how are they going to interpret this ask? How are they going to interpret the fact that I just pivoted from something I might have said 3 months ago, something like that? Are they going to understand where I'm coming from? Did I explain myself well enough? So I think my brain works really fast, and I think sometimes I act really fast, and it can overwhelm
Hmm.
people. So that's a weakness of mine.
Makes sense. I've told this to my team a bunch. I'm trying to work on this. I am working on this. I know it sounds like I'm doing random things. There's a connection there. I swear.
Yeah, it's there. Trust me, it's there. I promise it's not random.
um, I feel like you mentioned pivoting, like the great agency owners that I've been talking with, they're always got something scheming or like something they're testing. It's because the space is so fast moving. Um, you have to, or at least the people who are getting ahead seem to be doing that. And I mean, case in point, you just launched Understory Lite today, I guess, on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Curious to hear what it is and why did you do that?
To be honest with you, the idea was inspired by politics, and I know that sounds insane,
Okay.
but so here's the thing: it's like with an agency, no matter what, there are clients that are going to be a good fit and not a good fit, and you don't know who's a good fit until you test. So I have certain verticals that I know I work better with. I know that we have certain members of our team who like specific verticals, and it's a way for us to test fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things I like about it. But the reason I'm talking about politics and how it inspired this is we're seeing more and more a shift towards politicians who can appeal to the little guy.
Mm.
Whether or not they support the little guy, it's a totally different story. But people who can appeal to the little guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the little guys, when they team up, can take down the big guys,
Mm.
right? So my thought process there is if we can have a ton of smaller clients that we can serve really well, and I won't take on anyone I know we can't serve really well.
Right.
I just don't believe in that from an ethics standpoint. It's like I don't feel like taking someone's money if I don't think we're going to deliver them a positive ROI. But if you get all of these companies together and you learn really quickly, you become stronger than the big guys because you have the ability to test more, right? In our case, like it's not totally a one-to-one with politics. But the idea there is that if you band a bunch of people together, you could strengthen numbers.
Yeah.
So for us, if we can get a ton of different clients and learn more and more and learn faster, we're going to become a better agency than these big guys who are moving really slowly. And, they stay the same, they stagnate. So I don't want to ever become that.
Nice.
So I don't know if I explained it the way I was thinking about it in my head perfectly on this, but that's how it came about. And basically what it is, it's just a lighter version of our services that's more plug and play.
Mm-hmm.
So we have certain playbooks that we know work. For example, I have 9 playbooks that I've created for Understory Lite.
Mm.
And out of those 9, you basically get 3 a month. So you can choose between 3 of those per 9. And we'll also make our own recommendations, obviously, based on what we think is going to work for your market and based on your offer. But you select those 3, we run with those 3 for the month. And then at the end of the month, if they're working really well, you can continue running whatever playbooks you've seen strong results for. We'll continue to make recommendations. Or you can choose 3 new playbooks and we'll be able to launch those really quickly.
Interesting.
But because Clay is so powerful and we can templatize some things, we're able to pivot and move really quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we wanted to choose 3 new playbooks, we could do it because we've been building those templates.
So when I think of serving smaller clients, what I worry about running into is brain power bottlenecks. Like how do you, is it because it's plug and play, you're just, not just, but you're able to make the same MRR per employee that you would, or similar justifiable MRR per employee because each client takes less work, or do you anticipate any problems with this new model?
Well, margin definitely shrinks for us on Understory Lite, but it's totally fine because I think we'll be able to take on more clients.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think we'll be able to serve a market that's not able to be served right now. I truly believe this. I think we offer superior service to most other agencies. There are a handful of great ones out there, and you know them just like I know them. And those guys, I think they're just as good, maybe even better. I don't know. But they're expensive. I know what they charge. I know what we charge. We're expensive. And being able to offer to the SMBs out there that might not have budget for a service like ours, but need a service that's as high quality as ours, it's an underserved market, and I want to be able to serve that market. That's kind of where that's coming from. But yeah, I mean, we're going to have a lower margin on it. And I'm okay with that because I think we'll be able to take on more clients. So it's like I said, it's volume, it's numbers, it's banding up all the little guys and creating a bigger army versus just having a few. Basically, think about it like this: you can have the billionaires, or you can have all the guys that are worth $100,000 band up. And if you get enough of them, maybe billionaires maybe isn't the right way to put it. But millionaires, if you get enough guys with the 100Ks, it's like you get there. It's also a flat rate, which I think people appreciate. It's like it's very easy for them to forecast, and business owners, especially when you're smaller, being able to forecast your expenses on a monthly basis is critical. And if you have all these variable expenses coming in, like I know a lot of people who do pay-per lead, we're totally against that. Like there's nothing wrong with it. If you can make it work for you, great. But as a business owner, the person who's providing that service, and if I was the one buying that service, you don't know if you're going to spend, $3,000 or $20,000 that month.
Yeah.
Like that's a scary proposition. So that's why I like flat rates, and that's why we work on flat fees and just retainers.
I've seen just pattern matching across a bunch of different agency owners because of the nature of Play Bootcamp. I talk with a lot of them. Pay per lead has a lot of flaws. It tends to attract clients that you don't usually want to work with, and it incentivizes them to behave like bad clients.
It also incentivizes the operators to do bad behaviors, because if you think about it, if you're getting paid for the lead, why not just spray and pray, 2 million emails out in a month and just hope that 300 stick? You might have a 0.1% reply rate, but you're going to have more volume, so you're going to have more money. So it just incentivizes bad behavior all around.
So let's talk about your incredible retention. What are your secrets?
To be honest, there is no secrets. The way it works is obviously good results. You need to have good results for a client to stay on. Otherwise, there's no need. But also, it's communication. So as of today, for Understory Core, what we offer today, not Understory Lite, Every single client has a dedicated Slack channel with 24/7 access to us, which is a bold proposition.
Mm.
And sometimes it bites us in the ass, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm.
But so we have a dedicated Slack channel. We have SLAs in place where we'll respond to any message within 12 business hours, no matter what.
Mm.
Usually it's more like 5 minutes, to be honest with you.
Mm.
We're very quick. And we work in pods. So we might have 5 or 6 people potentially staffed on one account and one account
Okay.
manager. And so when you're working like that, it's like there's literally 24/7 access to any questions that someone might have. If there's an issue, it can be fixed very, very fast. And I think just the fact that we put customer first is the reason we have retention the way it is. And I'll be totally honest, it'd be a blatant lie if I told you we've never had a client that didn't have great results. It's definitely happened, but they've stayed on most of the time, and it's because of our ability to communicate with them, be very transparent. Here's why we think this isn't working. Here's what we're doing to fix it. We're actionable. We don't just twiddle our fingers and wait for a client to get angry. We move fast. If we see something's broken, we jump on it. That's part of the culture we just instill with Understory. That's one of those things that's hard to hire for because not everybody has that innately.
Mhm.
So you have to find people who are willing to be customer first, or just people like I mentioned, Pierre. Pierre just has that in his DNA. He's built like that, and that's why he's been such a good addition to our team.
And how do you find people like that?
So hiring's a unique story, and you and I have had conversations about this, but I actually have pulled most of my people from dark social groups.
Yeah.
So I'm in all these WhatsApp groups for agency owners, mostly on the outbound side. We're in one for paid media as well, but mostly on the outbound side. And I'm quiet, but I make myself known, but I'm still relatively quiet in these groups. But I read everything. So it's like I see what everyone's posting. And when I see a trend of someone asking really smart questions
Mm.
or doing really cool things, jumping in and offering their assistance, they're obviously not getting any money for what they're doing. They're just offering assistance to everyone in the whole group. Those are people I want to get to know. And so what I do typically is I just message these people one off and I'm like, hey, really impressed with this comment or really impressed with this build you did. Talk to me a little bit about how this came about. They don't know, but I'm like secretly kind of interviewing everybody. And some of them have more successful agencies than me, so they don't want to work for us. But some of them are just the type of people who just love being in the weeds, might not necessarily want to run their own business, might only have one client and do like a freelance type gig or do fractional work for a couple different companies. But if they're like minded and they're really smart, typically it's a good fit for us because we end up just building together. And I mean, we rarely say no to people. When people ask us for certain things in compensation or certain tasks they want to work on, if they're worth it, we'll say yes. We're not greedy. So I think that also helps with hiring. I think people appreciate that. Put it this way, I know what I hated as an employee,
Mhm.
and I know that I would never offer that treatment to anyone on our team.
Let's say someone's caught the clay bug or the GTM engineering bug, and they're interested in making some money from it. What advice would you give them?
I'll tell you what I did is I just literally spent 3 months nerding out in clay. I got to a point where I felt very competent and I ran campaigns for us. We dog food all of our own services on ourselves. So I did that for a while. Once I saw the results start to pour in, that's when I brought it to market. But the best advice I can give is just start tinkering. It's going to cost you some money, especially when you're first starting out with clay. You're going to burn through those 2,000 free credits instantly. You're going to make probably one mistake that's going to cost you 2,000 credits, and then you're going to have to buy more. But if you're really serious about it and you think it's something you want to do long term, well worth the investment to just buy clay credits and keep tinkering. You can also get paid to tinker. Find a client that's willing to pay you a small fee, maybe like $1,000 a month or something like that, to do something for them. And you might not make any money on it, but you can use it to fund your clay account, and you're basically just getting paid to learn. So that's how I would do it if I had to start from scratch all over again. I'd probably just find a little tiny client, do a little freelance job, and have them basically just fund the clay account and do free work for them.
What niche would you not worry about niche? Just like how would you choose?
I think there's so many different things to choose from. I mean, we're obviously in B2B SaaS. That's who we serve. But the more I play around, the more I see that it doesn't really matter which vertical you go into if you get really good within that exact vertical. Like I know a guy who only focuses on local businesses, and I mean like smoothie shops, like little weird little like the tiny companies you would never think that would need help like this. But there's all kinds of workflows that they just don't have. So those smaller companies are super underserved, which is kind of where Understory Lite's going, but it's not for those types of companies. It's for smaller B2B SaaS companies. But there's so many things that people don't have that they don't know they don't have, and if you can sell well, you can break into those verticals. And honestly, if you're doing the right things in clay, you can help them be ROI positive in a matter of 2 weeks sometimes. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean, personally, I like B2B SaaS. That's why we do that. But you can do whatever. Well, I know people who have helped political organizations fundraise, right? Like completely out of left field, something I would never even think of doing, but they've done it super successfully.
Is that pay for performance?
They did not. They were actually on a retainer. Well, there is those people that do M&A and private equity and things like that and raise capital that way. And I know a lot of those guys do pay for performance, where they basically just take a percentage of capital raised.
I've definitely seen an uptick in interest from like private equity and
Yeah.
other M&A.
It's a thing, it's a thing because if you can craft really compelling messages or if you have really strong pitch decks from those private equity companies or something like that, then you can just basically say, hey, mind if I send over our prospectus for this deal? Something like that. Most investors are, they're pretty adventurous. They're risk takers to an extent, calculated risk, but they're opportunistic. So there's no harm in them saying, yeah, send over the prospectus. I'd love to look at the deal. They look at it and they're like, this is shit. Or they're like, actually, let's have a call. I'd like to learn more about this, And you don't know unless you send out a ton of volume for things like that. There's the cat.
Yes. He told me not to edit him out of the video.
Yeah, I got my dog here. It just sits there all day.
Does your dog help with sales or hurt sales?
I think helps. Everyone likes dogs.
Yeah.
Everyone likes dogs, and he's very photogenic. He just sits there and just chills.
What is the secret to that? I'm asking a cheesy question. What's the secret to sales, or what do you, when you see other people selling, if you do, what basic mistakes do you see people making over and over again?
So I think the most important thing to sales that people are starting to lose more and more, especially with AI becoming as mainstream as it is you're selling to human beings, and it's like at the end of the day, if you can't appeal to a human in a conversation, why would they buy anything from you? If they want you to sell for them and you can't even sell to them, that doesn't add up, right? So it's like, I think one of the things that people do, and I see this with content all the time on LinkedIn, it's like everyone talks about leads like it's like an ingredient in a recipe. And it's like, leads are people. It's like, you have to think about how to craft messages for people. It's like, what would I read? It's like every single time we put out an email campaign, I think about how would I react to this campaign? I am a business owner. It's like there's certain tools I'm in the market for, but I don't even know I'm in the market for. And if I saw an email, I might be interested. I respond to cold emails all the time. But it's like people forget that they're selling to people. They just treat a lead as like I said, it's an ingredient in a recipe for business. That's not how it works. It's like every single email that goes out should be something that you would probably react to yourself. And then when you're having conversations with people, prospects who potentially want to hire you, don't go so technical that you're going to confuse people. Most people that are buying from clay agencies don't know or care about all the different API integrations, all the different tools that you're using, data scrapes, like Serper, like all these different things that we use that are super complex. People don't care. They're just like, what are you going to do high level that's going to drive my business? And talk to them like human beings, sell to them like human beings, and you'll win a lot more deals.
So I've seen that there's a kind of divide between people who jump on sales calls and they do the discovery, like what are the needs, what are you trying to solve, and then some people will skip all that and jump straight into clay table and show. Are you not showing clay at all on your sales calls?
I used to when we did close deals, but it's the ability to like dumb down a clay table, right? Because like all of us are nerds. That's why we do what we do. But it's like most of the people that are buying from us are not necessarily nerds. They're business people, right? So frankly, they just don't give a shit about all the different APIs and all that stuff that you're doing. So it's like, it's helpful if you show a clay table, but if I show a clay table, if I'm demoing anything, I hide 80% of that clay table. I'm showing this is the output that I get. This is the high level way that I got to this output. Move to the next one, move to the next one. Here's the final output. It's not saying, well, I wrote all of this with custom Python and then took the JSON and it's like no one cares. Just talk about what the output is.
Eyes glaze.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep that stuff internal. It's like we talk about all that stuff because we need to know how it works because we're building it. But they don't care. They just want results. That's it.
Some people post highly technical clay content, and this hypnotizes people on LinkedIn, and then they book a meeting. It is I guess you don't have that much highly technical content.
I have some. I have like some Loom videos that I'll record if I do something really cool and I think it's simple enough to show to a mass audience. It's not that I think people are
No.
dumb. I think people on LinkedIn are generally very smart. It's just I think they don't care. No one wants to watch a 7-minute video of you going through this. It's like, tell me what happened
Yeah.
in 10 seconds. That's all I need to know. So yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I told you a lot of our pipeline didn't come from our content. It does.
Mm.
Ali and I both post very frequently, and I'd say 80% of our pipeline does come from our content. And Ali's is really technical, to be honest.
Mm.
But that's also Ali's personality. It's like if you get on a call with somebody, they're talking to me. It's like, am I technical? Sure. But it's like, do I talk to people in a technical way? Maybe to you, but not to most people. But Ali, if you talk to him, he's very technical when you speak with him. So it's like his content resonates with the way he actually speaks.
Makes sense.
And I think mine does too. And I think that's important because you're going to sound like a totally different person if someone gets on a call with you and you're nothing like the way you speak on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So it's authenticity too. I think that goes a long way. But yeah, our pipeline's about probably 80%. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. I should. But probably about 80% from content. And then the rest is through a blend of paid media and outbound campaigns.
Nice.
So we run our own paid ads on LinkedIn. We also run outbound campaigns. We also do a lot of inbound led outbound. Triggerfy is actually booking us a ton of meetings. So every time someone engages with my content or Pierre's content or Ali's content, they get added to a sequence and they get a message on HeyReach via LinkedIn and on email. And those work super well. But they also go through a very strict criteria for lead scoring. And if they don't match that lead score, they're not getting added to a sequence. So it's very low volume, but it's really high conversion.
This one's a weird question. But what algorithms do you use that have helped you become successful that you think other people are ignoring? Like, what ways are you thinking that other people may not be thinking?
I think we move quickly and break shit and learn from it. And I think that helps us a lot. Like in some of these dark social groups that I'm talking about, I've seen these guys who've been in it, guys and girls. I don't know why I keep saying guys and girls who are in these groups, and they're at the same place they were 12 months ago. And I'm like, why are you still in the same place? I'm like, well, I'm focused on building out systems. And it's like, you should, that's great, but you should be building out systems simultaneously while serving customers. Because otherwise you just don't have any income. And there's no need. Like, why are you building a business that doesn't actually make any money? So it's like move quickly, break shit, and figure it out. And just be transparent about what you're doing with your clients. If you tell a client, I have everything completely buttoned up, we're perfect, and then you make mistakes, then you're just going to appear disingenuous and you're going to rub people the wrong way. But if you say, yeah, hey, that's not something we currently offer, but it's on our roadmap and I'll let you know as it's being built out, then they just appreciate the transparency more than 90% of the time. I feel like they're okay with it too. They're like, I don't expect you to be perfect, but I expect you to get better over time and continue to learn. And that's what clients care about. They want results and they want to see continued results and improvement.
Have you had some big, like, spectacular move quickly and break shit moments?
For sure. So we had a client that was 100% on Outlook inboxes.
Oh, no. Okay.
And we had the Outlook apocalypse so typically the way we set things up is we'll do a blend of Outlook and Gmail inboxes based on the client, based on their ICP, and think about when you're doing SMTP matching. It's like, what kind of clients are using Outlook? Typically enterprise companies. What kind of clients are using Gmail? Typically startups or more mid-market companies, right? So we think about that in the way we set things up. But in this client in particular, there was a cybersecurity company. We were getting crazy results for them. And we booked them calls with Bank of America, Chess.com, Kohl's, Home Depot, like big companies, right? Like really cool companies. And, got some really big sales cycles initiated for them. And then one day it all stopped. We're like, oh God, what happened? I open up Smart Lead and I see like a 68% bounce rate on a campaign. And I was like, oh, for context, we shoot for sub 1%.
Okay.
Like that's always our goal is sub 1% bounce rates. And it was 68%. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And so if like when you're setting up inboxes too, you have to warm them up. It takes a couple weeks. Really, it should take more like a month, but most people do it for a couple weeks. And these were toast. So I reached out to our provider and he was like, oh yeah, the tenant got crushed. And I'm like, so what do we do? And he's like, yeah, we're just gonna have to set up new inboxes for you. Those ones are completely burnt. I was like, what about the domains? And he's like, yeah, those are burnt too. I'm like, oh God. And so we ended up having to set up everything, but it took a month for us to get back up and running because we wanted to make sure that, we were in a good place. We switched everything over to Gmail too. We weren't sure if Gmail was going to operate the same way
Mm.
at the time. This was probably close to a year ago at this point. But we weren't sure if Gmail was going to work really well at that time for their TAM. Thankfully, it all ended up working out. But yeah, I mean, they were accommodating, and I think they were accommodating because I sent them a screenshot and said this all happened today.
Oh, wow.
I caught it and then instantly sent them a message. I was like, hey, I don't want to beat around the bush and have you question why the results have gotten worse. This happened and it sucks. This is what we're doing to fix it. We've already started to take action. And they were like, man, that really sucks, but I appreciate you letting us know. They didn't ask for a discount for the month. They didn't ask for a refund.
Wow.
They were just appreciative that we were on it and on it quickly. So yeah, I mean, that was a move fast and break shit moment for sure.
Sounds like you pair moving fast and breaking shit with being extremely on top of things so you can fix them quickly.
Yeah. If you're not quick about solves, then you're going to lose clients really quickly. That goes back to retention, right? It's like clients understand things aren't going to be perfect. They understand things are going to happen. Like we had a client for paid media actually this morning, not even upset with us, but they were like, hey, we've got a lot of spam on this campaign. And it was because we increased the budget too quickly on one of their campaigns and it drove a lot of spam. So we said, oh, we'll fix it immediately. We got back on it. And she already said, hey, the campaign's already starting to look better because they have a pretty substantial budget and you can see things pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just being on top of things and having excellent giving the customers an excellent experience.
Nice. Awesome. If you had a billboard, what would you put on it?
If I had a built for Understory,
A billboard, no, just like to teach the world something. I don't know.
I guess this is something I say internally all the time. Be kind to people because you never know
Mm.
what someone's going through. And in regards to business, you never know who's best friends with Mark Zuckerberg. I mean that because like we'll have calls with clients and they'll be like, or prospects, and they'll be like, hey, I really want to work with you guys, but you guys are way out of my budget. And I'd be like, no problem, I totally understand. I'm sure you guys will continue to scale, and as you do, keep us in mind. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help you in the meantime, free of charge. More often than not, we get someone else that comes in and says, hey, so-and-so told me about you guys and said you guys were a great fit. Would love to have a conversation. My business is currently doing 27 million in ARR. Okay. Yeah, let's have a conversation. You just never know. It's just because someone hasn't done anything impressive yet doesn't mean that they won't in the future.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't mean they're a subpar human.
Yeah.
It also doesn't mean that they don't know someone else that is doing incredible stuff. Be intentional with every engagement that you have with every human.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alex. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's always fun.